this is a piece, this fabric. I wish I could remember what it's called. Darn it, I have it. I think I have it written down someplace. But this fabric is actually Aida, but it's super, super soft Aida, and it's like I think it's like 16 count Aida, so like about 32 count. But it's super fat, super soft. It was a dream to stitch with. This was similar to the fabric that I used to stitch the stranded jacks at Halloween, the Plum Street Sampler stranded jacks. And what was neat about it, I thought, was, and Jen had talked about this, that she likes her fabric to have some hints of the colors of her floss. Like, you have to be careful because it can't be too similar. And this fabric absolutely has a little bit of all those different colors in it. I mean, it has a little bit of that peachy color, it has a little bit of red, it has a lot of green. What was interesting for me is that the left-hand side of the fabric, and you can tell, is much darker and much more mottled and a lot greener than the right-hand side. And so as I was stitching, and I did the left-hand side first, and as I was stitching that, particularly like the gold colors, like the bird's beak and his feet, and even some of the green, the dogs there, which those are golds, they are kind of a goldy brown color. I think they are Classic Colorworks Old Hickory, I think is what those are. Well, it really blended, and at first I was getting kind of scared that it was going to be too blendy and too matchy-matchy, but then I realized that the other side, the right-hand side, was a lot different color. And I thought, well, that's going to be kind of cool, and I love the way this looks. I love the fact that on the left-hand side, that bird, I mean, you kind of lose his beak, you lose his feet, the dogs aren't very prominent, you know, some of the flowers, even some of the letters. But over here, you can really see what you're missing from this side. And I love the house. I could not put this down. As soon as that green comes in, I'll finish it up, and that should be, you know, I should be able to finish that up in one sitting and have that all done. And then I think I'm going to try to get the courage up to have Julie frame that for me, I think. I always feel like my stitching is not up to par with everybody else's, and I'm always kind of embarrassed when somebody see my stitching up close, but I love it, and you know, my stitching is what it is, so I love that piece so much, and I think Julie could find the perfect frame, and yeah, so I'm super, super excited about that. Then I worked a considerable amount on winter memorabilia at the retreat, both before the retreat and at the retreat. Nicole and I are doing that as a stitch along. We started that on January 1st. I have, and I know I didn't bring it. I redid my craft room. I realized that I wasn't wanting to spend time in my craft room because it was messy, and it wasn't so much messy. It was just, there was just too much stuff in there. And so I reorganized and I mentioned this, cataloged all of my charts, both kitted and not kitted, and put them in baskets, kind of in groupings. And so I made an area in the basement to keep all of those down there, and that really opened up my craft room. And so now I'm ready to spend some more time in there and do some more things. But anyway, winter memorabilia is down in the basement now because it's not something I'm working on right now, although I do need to pick that back up. So I worked on that a considerable amount, and then I've been monogamous, just stitching this, and I haven't had a lot of stitching time. So, but then last night, color floss, I thought, okay, well, I need to figure out what I'm going to do long term, and whether I'm going to do Stitch 9 or not going to do Stitch 9. And I also haven't decided if I'm going to do Mania or not this year. I'm leaning towards not. I'm leaning to. I pulled up my Mania spreadsheet, and now last year was Maddie's graduation, and you know, like right towards the end of May, and things got crazy, and I didn't even get to start any new projects like the last 5 days of May because we had company. But I started like 22 projects or something, and I have only finished one of those. And so I think Mania this year is going to be just working on those same projects again. And if I get a few done before Mania, then maybe I'll start new, you know, to replace those. But if I don't, then I'm not going to. So anyway, I was going through all of my Mania projects, which I had all grouped together, and then going through other things that I had started. And this jumped out at me. I started this during Mania, and it was one that I actually worked on for a couple of days because I was having so much fun with it, and I couldn't put it down. There's really nothing significant about this. I happened to see this on I either bought this from Teresa or I bought it from Jen, and it was but it's a Shakespeare's Peddler pattern. I feel like I bought it from Jen because Jen carries a lot of those old Shakespeare's Peddlers charts. I have always been a huge Alice in Wonderland fan. I love Alice in Wonderland, and this is not really Alice in Wonderland. It's the Queen of Hearts, but it's kind of a sampler, and it's called the Queen of Hearts. It says the Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts on a summer's day. I think that's a children's nursery rhyme. I saw this, I was drawn to it, and I saw this right around the time that we painted our kitchen, and we painted our kitchen a real kind of buttery yellow, real pale buttery yellow, and I thought, oh my gosh, this would go so well in my kitchen. And it's, you know, it's the Queen of Hearts, and it's just, there's just so many little things about it that I love. I love this old-fashioned cabinet thing that might even be an oven, you know, an old-fashioned oven, the shelf with the cookbooks on it, the pies on the counter, the cat down below. It's just cute, and then all the different samplers or bands or whatever you call those. I love it. So last night I'm like, it's February. This was a Stitch Mania start. All I had done was her apron and her little red pocket, and so I picked it up and I worked on it last night and just a little bit this morning early, and oh gosh, it's so cute. It's just so cute. It's super simple. It's, you know, there's nothing difficult about it. And this is being stitched on a piece of, did I bring that with me over here? I did save this. No, I didn't. It's being stitched on a piece of fabric that Julie helped me pick out. Either Julie or Dan. The handwriting on the fabric sheet is Dan's handwriting. It's not Julie's. But the one thing I did change is the stove or the cabinet. I feel like that's one of those old, you know, like fire stoves, or I don't know if it's a cabinet. Anyway, the floss on it is ecru. Can you see that, like the legs and the outline of it is ecru, and then this is like a mustard color DMC. I'm doing it all in DMC. Well, her apron is ecru too, but of course her apron is surrounded by the red, so that works out. So I changed this. There's just a little bit of number 739, which is DMC 739, which is considered straw bonnet, and it's down here, and I think the only place it is down here in this band down here at the bottom. So I changed the ecru to that just so that it would stand out a little bit more. You can see the ecru in the seat over here, and that works just fine because of the brown of the chair. But that's the only thing I changed, and otherwise, yeah. The thing I think is so clever about this, and I'd really love to sit down sometime with Teresa and Susie and hear about, you know, I don't know how they did their charts and who designed what, and if Teresa did, you know, the majority of the designing, or if Susie did some of it, or they shared it, or what. But I had just her apron, and then last night I stitched her blouse and her face and her hair and her arms, and got all done with her, and she's a heart. Do you see how her hair makes a heart? I thought that was, I'm like, oh, she's a heart. She got a little heart face. I think that's so cute. Anyway, just super, super clever. You know, it's the little things in life. The other thing that's kind of cool that I'm doing, and I have it here, so I'll show you. When I was at Stitch Away, I think there were 10 of us at our table. We kind of had 2 tables put together, and there were 10 of us sitting there stitching, and I think 8 of the 10 of us had one of these frames or stands or whatever you want to call it, and it's called Elan, E-L-A-N, and it's from Artisan Design. And I tried Nicole's out. Nicole had one, and I tried hers out, and I've been stitching in hand for probably 2 years now. And I was just kind of watching their stitching on these frames, and they're just easy, and they can hold them in their laps, or they could be up on the table, or, you know, whatever. And I tried Nicole's out, and I really liked it. And so I came home and happened to be talking to Dory about, I don't know if we were talking about the fact that I stitch in hand, or I was unhappy with some of my stitches in some project or something. And I said, I think I'm going to order one of these Elon frames. And I hear they're easy to get and they're like $99 or whatever. And she's like, don't order one. I have one in my closet that I'm not going to use. And that was like on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and she got it in the mail Saturday, and I got it the following like Tuesday, and have been using it nonstop with a Q-snap. It works great. I love it, and I love how my stitches look. Now, Brick House Sampler was literally half done in hand and half done in using the frame or the stand. And if I look really hard, I can kind of tell which stitches were done by hand, but I think once I press it and once it's framed and everything, I don't think you'll be able to tell. And if you can tell, that'll be a kind of a neat thing, because I can, you know, like that's when I made the transition. So I'm gonna just be okay with it. Okay, lastly, so those are the things I'm gonna be working on. Finish up Brick House, work on the Queen of Hearts, try to get her done here in February. I've really been feeling like just working on one project at a time, and so, you know, I'm happy with that. But the last couple days I've had some time to watch FlossTube for the first time in probably a month, and so I've been catching up on everybody, and I happened to be watching Carol yesterday, Saltbox Stitcher, and I had the opportunity to meet Carol and actually sit with Carol in Minnesota at the Midwest Cross Stitchers Retreat, and she's just as lovely in person as she is not in person. And she was the inspiration for me to order Plum Street Sampler Brick House. And I talked about this months and months ago, and the fact that we lived in a pink house in Kansas City, and it's my favorite house that we've ever lived in. And it wasn't like, didn't look like that, but it was a pink house, and we bought it and we intended to paint it, and we never did. And as soon as we sold it, the people that bought it from us painted it, and it's not pink anymore. But anyway, I loved the sampler, and I wanted to get it. And so she's almost done. And if you get a chance to watch her, just to see this stitched up in person, it's so beautiful. So I pulled this out yesterday, just kind of life back to normal. I really kind of like it and enjoy it. And sometimes I'm really down in January and February, I think just winter, and I probably don't get enough vitamin D, and I probably don't get enough sunshine. I grew up in Colorado, and people don't know this, but Denver has more sunny days per year than the entire state of Hawaii. And when you grow up and it's almost always sunny, like if it's cloudy for more than one day in Denver, it's weird, you know, you recognize it. But growing up with that, I didn't realize, and it seems like every place else we've lived has very few sunny days, and we've had a lot of clouds, and that tends to, after I love a good rainy day, or I love a snowy day, but just when it's cold and cloudy and not doing anything, it gets to me after a few days. And so I was feeling kind of ick the first part of, like last week and the first part of this week, and just kind of that February, kind of the winter blahs. But I'm feeling better, and I think you just kind of have to keep pushing forward and work on some stuff and find something to get excited about. Maybe, I don't know. That's key for me. And like even 5 or 10 minutes of sunshine, even if it's really cold, just bundle up and get outside. That helps me a lot. A little bit of exercise too. So that's it. That's all I've got. I hope everyone is well. I hope you're getting lots of time to stitch. I hope everybody's staying warm and cozy. And I hope to be back sooner rather than later. All right, guys. See you soon. Bye.